Oh, bum 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 bum. Halo. Okay, folks, Paramount Plus's adaptation of Halo. It's been long waited for. Man, I remember, Rosie, back in like Halo 3 days. Halo 3 had an absolutely incredible promotional campaign that was like these really grounded action vignettes of Master Chief and his apocalyptic war against the Covenant alien races. And it was really, really cool. And it was around that time that people were like, oh, Halo movie. It's going to happen. Who will it be? Will it be Spielberg? Will it be Neil Blomkamp of District 9? Who will be? And it's just been, we've been waiting for it. I had forgotten about it. I stopped playing Halo. I started playing Halo again. I stopped again, and then I started again. And now here we are. The year is 2022, and the Halo television series has now aired on Paramount Plus. Will have aired by the time you are listening to this. Rosie, your thoughts on episode 1 of Halo?
It was very different than I thought it was going to be.
Same.
And the more I think of it, I actually think that's like a good thing. I think it's really hard to adapt something that is so much about the player's experience, which is, you know, the problem with every video game, but specifically a game like this where you are in the space and world and mind and also like how much of the narrative people know of Halo is to do with how much they commit to it. So for some people that they don't, and I actually thought that it was really interesting and weird and slow burny, and also as well, like the production value was really great.
I agree.
It looks so good.
It's clear that the VFX are not quite all the way polished, but it still looks incredible. Like the practical effects, explosions, the battle scenes, the elites themselves, like there's just some like minor textural stuff that it's clear that they're going to fill in, but like Reach looks incredible. Yeah. High Charity looks incredible. Like all the stuff looks amazing.
Something that I think is really cool that I enjoyed a lot about this, that I think was something I didn't really get from the trailers. I think a lot of stuff that came out, Halo, you know, a lot of the movies, a lot of this stuff that came out in this era was very like orange. It had that color grading of, you know, war and sand and barren and the green of Master Chief and stuff. But there's so many, we get that classic opening. Like the opening is kind of very Star Wars, Star Trek-y, where you really get the feeling of the colonists. I just thought they actually did such a good job of showing all these different worlds and spaces, and they all looked so different and were so visually easy to follow that even though when you're describing it, it's like, then they're there. But you know from the cinematography, from the production design, you immediately know where you are once you've been there one time.
Yeah. I completely agree. And again, like I'm a big fan of Starship Troopers.
Me too. I love it.
As a satire of militarism and fascism that is so finely tuned that I think probably the majority of people who watch that movie are just like, this is a great just action movie. Like, I will think nothing deeper of it. Yeah.
You know, I have a nameplate necklace like people get of their names, and mine says Verhoeven because I love Paul Verhoeven so much. And when that movie came out, people hated it. People were like, this is military fascist propaganda, which is what the book it's based on was.
Yeah.
But actually, it's such a searing, fucking brilliant, brutal satire. And every time you watch it, it still feels absolutely relevant. And I definitely like that this is not as funny. Starship Troopers is like hilarious. But I love that this has that same intention of examining the idea of like a militarized action show and what it means to be a militarized force. I think it's a really interesting and unexpected
I love
route.
that. I love that too. And it's kind of got this Iron Giant feel to it of we've lost control of our weapons. You know,
Yeah.
we've made this ultimate weapon, high tech. It is our last hope to like turn back the tide of whatever. And yes, we are suspending space civil liberties and oppressing our colonies in order to fight this fight. But we have to do it. But then to lose control of the weapon because the weapon is like, is this the right way to be doing this?
Yeah.
I love stories like that.
too.
And so I'm on the hook.
You know, we're talking about video games. Like, what about, you know, I'm not saying this is the route that this is going to go, but I love the implication of like that kind of, did you ever play that PlayStation 1 game, Shadow of the Colossus?
Oh my God.
Right. So the whole time.
First of all,
yeah.
Yes.
Of course. I knew it.
Shadow of the Colossus, for those of you who don't know, is a game by one of the great auteurs of video games, Fumito Ueda, and it is about a person who rides around this beautiful, like, fantastical landscape and is that person's mission is to like kill these massive, very gentle beasts. Like
but we
the
think,
thing that
you know, you're meant to think because it's a monster because you're playing a video game, right?
Right.
It's a monster, and you are the person. You've got to kill them, and you realize at the end that you are the bad guy. You are not
the bad
a
guy.
hero.
You're killing these gentle giants that are just like chilling in fields.
Yeah, and
then
are like part of the natural order of things. They're these beautiful, and that is like one of the most visceral versions of that story that I think of so often. And I definitely feel like there's something interesting in what they're seeding here, where it's like Master Chief recontextualizing the people that he's meant to be killing and realizing that there's a humanity to everyone. And that's really, I mean, obviously Pablo Schreiber, he's doing the Master Chief thing. It looks incredible. The suit is like absolutely perfect.
Perfect.
But Yerin Ha, who plays Kwon Ha, I think that's the human heart of the show. I think that it's very smart to do that kind of buddy unexpected team up. It's the revolutionary and the military man. It's a little bit Mandalorian-ish, but you know, there's no child. It's just like, it's Hidden Fortress. It's the two people who team up. It's a hero's journey. This added an unexpectedly kind of human element that I don't think that would have been the story that got told if this show
Same here.
made
I was
10
not.
years ago.
I 100% was not expecting them to take this angle on it.
I think it's really interesting to take what to a lot of people who haven't necessarily deeply played the games or who haven't read the books, which I'm so gonna have to do now. Like, I'm gonna need to. I think I read the first one, but I think I need to go back and read them because I feel like this must be taking so much inspiration because there's so much depth to this first episode. But I think it's really cool that they essentially took something that a lot of people just know as kind of like a shoot 'em up kind of like first person shooter, and are like, here's like a Star Trek level in-depth exploration of this world that you've never seen, and let's talk about what it means to be colonists, and let's talk about what these government agencies will do to survive.
I really love and am fascinated by the fact that they took a military shooter and made a show that is very critical of militarism. So that is very interesting to me.
I think it's so interesting.
That's when it's going to keep me watching at this point. Folks, we're in the Endgame now, and today we are ranking our top 3 video game adaptations and why we love them. Rosie, are you ready?
I am definitely ready. Okay, so my first pick is... Most people have probably never seen this movie, but you should go and watch it. It's streaming on every free streaming service. It is Double Dragon.
Oh, I love Double Dragon, the video game. I love Double Dragon, the movie.
Yes.
Hokey, but fun.
One of the best, most fun and accessible video games that also spawned like every great video game like that. Like, there are so many brilliant walk-along beat-em-ups, and I love them. But yeah, the movie is so good. It stars Mark Dacascos, who I love and will literally watch in any movie. He's also in the incredible Crying Freeman adaptation, which is a great manga adaptation. Alyssa Milano is in it. Scott Wolf is the brother of Mark Dacascos in hilarious fashion. And it's like, it's one of the funnest things because now it's 2022, but the movie's from the 90s and it's set in 2007 when like an earthquake has destroyed Los Angeles and everyone's like a post-apocalyptic punk. And Alyssa Milano has the sickest look she's maybe ever had in her whole career. And it is just like, it's so hokey, but this 90s era of video games, I actually love. It's so much fun. They weren't afraid to do weird stuff. This has this does what the Street Fighter movie doesn't, which is this actually like leans into the supernatural of it all, which I think is really, really fun. And yeah, this is like a great movie. Also, apparently the story was by Paul Dini, which is just,
whoa,
I know, like unexpected. Paul Dini, Batman animated series creator, like one of our favorites. We talk about him a lot. So yeah, this is a bunch of fun. This is like one of those things where I'm like, just go and watch it and you will have fun. If you think it sucks and it's badly made, you will still have fun watching it. But you might find it's like a solid B-movie gem.
I like it. My first pick will be Injustice, the comic series and the animated comic movie streaming now on HBO Max, which is an adaptation of the hit video game of the same name, which is a beat 'em up, fight 'em up video game based around the idea that Superman just flips out because he's been, spoiler alert, tricked into killing Lois Lane, and he goes nuts, and the heroes of Earth kind of like split along certain lines, and they have to stop him. It's for a comic adapted from a video game.
Unbelievably good. Like everyone,
it's good. Like it shouldn't be good, but it's good.
That ran like shout out to Tom Taylor, who was the writer who was given that unenviable task and suddenly made that one of the biggest comics in the world. Like the depth that the adaptation, the video game's great. I love NetherRealm. I love Mortal Kombat. So I love the fighting styles that they use for Injustice, and I love the evil characters. But like, to then turn that into a legitimately engaging, deep story, and not just adapt it to comics, but also adapt it to a movie, an animated movie. That's powerful.
What is your next pick?
Okay, so my next one, I'm gonna go all 90s just for.
I love it.
Because otherwise it's hard for me, because I actually like a lot of video game adaptations, even though I would argue there hasn't been like a truly magnificent like 5-star.
I agree with you.
But I actually love a lot of them. So my next one is going to be Street Fighter. This one goes above Double Dragon only slightly. Also 1994, directed by Steven D'Souza. I really love this movie. I rewatch it all the time. It's so funny. It's really silly. It doesn't lean enough into the supernatural. I think it's Jean-Claude Van Damme. They always do this with this. The characters they choose to be the main characters, you're like, why would you do this? Like Ken and Ryu. First of all, the guy they cast as Ken, that is like one of my most annoying. I'm still annoyed about that casting, 20 years later. But like Ken and Ryu are comedy. They're comedy relief in this movie. It makes no sense. Like, why would nothing about it makes any sense? But it is like so fun. Raul Julia plays M. Bison, and he is just unbelievable. And he chews up all the scenery, and he did the movie because people were like, why would you do this movie? It was so trash. And he did it because his kids loved Street Fighter, and he wanted to do something his kids would love. And he has this like unreal line where she says to him, like, it's him and Chun-Li, and she says, she's asking him if he remembers when he killed her family. And he's like, God, the day I graced your village was, that was the most important day of your life. But to me, it was just a Thursday or something.
Jesus.
And it's so good. And it's so fun. And, Kylie Minogue is in it. Also, there's like Kylie Minogue is in it as Cammy, I think. So
what was it's been such a long time since I've seen the movie, I forgot. What was the excuse for the split, the Jean-Claude Van Damme split in this? When did he do the split?
Oh, I mean, it happens more than once. And also there's like a really famous and hilarious interview that's been doing the rounds recently with and Ming-Na Wen plays Chun-Li, which is like unbelievable casting. Yeah, great. Oh yeah, it's Damien Chapa who plays Ken. Like, why did they do that? But Byron Mann plays Ryu, and he's wonderful. But there's a really famous interview that's going around at the moment virally again with Stephen D'Souza, the director, where he talks about how like Jean-Claude was just like coked out of his mind the whole time. And when you watch the movie, like you can see it. And one of my this movie is not in my top 3, right? Street Fighter is, but Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li is not. But I will say that movie has an unbelievable bathroom fight scene and a very famous cocaine-fueled performance by Chris Klein. So it continues the legend. But yeah, Street Fighter, 1994, another movie that you'll have a lot of fun with.
I am going to pick for my second pick a recent release, ARCANE, Netflix's ARCANE, which is the adaptation of lore from League of Legends. Now, this is very interesting in the sense that I've never played League of Legends. Yep. I don't know the lore at all. I don't usually, like, the move in a video game adaptation, right, is they always give you that scene that is a wink at like the way the game is. So, for instance, in the episode 1 of Halo, when Master Chief touches down on Madrigal and starts slogging away against the Covenant, there's a moment where like you go into his visor and you see the first person view of him aiming his gun, the whole thing. And if that happens in ARCANE, I have no idea. I don't know. I just know that it was great and I really enjoyed it. Yeah. I thought the art was amazing. The characters were really great. I just really, really liked it. It looked almost too real at times.
That's a show that I think not only is it like a stunning show. I've never played League of Legends either, and it's but it's like the rare adaptation. This is probably actually one of those 5-star if we're talking about a video game adaptation. Like it not only pushes the boundaries of what a video game adaptation can be, but also the format of animation. Like you said, like when you're watching it, you spend so much of the time going, how did they do that? Yeah, is it rotoscope? Is it 2D? Is it CG? They use so many formats. It feels like a bit like the first time you see Spider-Verse.
Completely agree. It's like that. There's like this hard, almost like hard-edged, like cell shading kind of look that
and
looks
different
just,
line weights and
it's like it's just really, really cool. I love it. What's your next pick?
Well, I'm absolutely really happy that you went for like legit quality ones because I'm really going for that. This is the triple bill of 90s classics. So my first one, and I do legitimately love this movie, is Mortal Kombat, which came out in 1995, directed by Paul Anderson, who would obviously go on to do, Paul W.S. Anderson would obviously go on to do like a lot of video game adaptations. But this is my favorite. I love this Mortal Kombat movie. It's campy as hell.
It is so campy.
It is like so enjoyable. And I think that like Robin Shaw as Liu Kang is like one of the all-time best castings. And the martial arts are actually really good. It doesn't do well. It's a PG, PG-13 isn't that always the way. So you don't get that brutal bloodiness of the video games, which Mortal Kombat is probably my favorite video game of all time. So, but there's just something about this movie that I love. This soundtrack is full of unbelievable bangers. Like it's so good. And it has every great character. It has, Kari Hiroyuki Togawa as Shang Tsung, and that's such popular casting that they actually brought him back for one of the video games recently because it was like so iconic. And I would say I also did enjoy. I think this was on Netflix, but I think it's on HBO Max now. And I did enjoy the new Mortal Kombat. If you want a more R-rated one, also another great Liu Kang casting there. And yeah, I love Mortal Kombat, and this movie is like probably one of my most rewatched movies because it's just so much fun. What's your number one?
Oh God! So this is a cheat, and I don't care. I'm going to do it, and with a caveat of this movie came out in 1984, so it might be problematic now, and I haven't seen it since I was for a long time. I've seen it since I was a kid, but as a kid I loved it. So if it's problematic now,
apologies.
All apologies. The Last Starfighter from 1984. Wow. Now, here's the thing about The Last Starfighter. It's not really a video game adaptation. It's a story about a kid. It's a story about an alien war, a genocidal alien war, where the very, very, very Hail Mary last option of this dying up against the wall alien civilization that's about to be wiped out is to create a video game and send it to, I guess, like all the inhabited planets of like the galaxy, but in particular Earth. And that video game will like search for talented fighter pilots. And if they are good enough, if they beat the game, that means they are skilled enough, and they will then be picked up by a starfighter, like this unique, very, very last high-tech, super top-secret starfighter, the last hope of this alien civilization, to defeat the enemies. And it was like, it's super fun. Like, as a kid, it was like any kind of story that was like, actually, like, if you get good enough at video games, it's actually really good. Like, it's actually beneficial for your life.
And
how
you
good?
will
Well,
save
how
the
about
world.
how about if you save not even just your world, but the galaxy, other planets? I was like, I'm all the way in. So, The Last Starfighter, I thought about The Last Starfighter like a couple weeks ago because it seemed like one of those properties that I'm like, oh, they haven't rebooted this yet? Like, they haven't figured out a way to make this 10 episodes of a TV show, or they haven't figured out how to just like make the movie again and release it on Disney Plus. Wow, I'm really surprised at that. So The Last Starfighter, I don't know if it's problematic. Again, it came out in 1984. It might be, and I'm sorry. But The Last Starfighter, that's going to be it because I just loved it so much.
Okay, I'm gonna do. I want to do a special mention then, because my other one, if we were doing it like movies, it would be Tron. That's I love the original Tron. That was such a revolutionary movie for me. So shout out to Tron. Love that weird old movie.
Rosie, thanks again for joining us. It's been a delight. Anything to plug? Plug it again. Plug the comic book again.
Yes, I am writing a Godzilla comic with Oliver Ono, the incredible artist who's doing the inks and the colors and the pencils and everything. I'm sure the letterer will also be amazing, and I will shout them out when I find out their name. That is my plug. You can find me Rosie Marks on Instagram, also on Letterboxd, where you can see all the bad movies that I watch. The other thing I will plug, it's not me, but it is our co-host, superstar, Cody Ziegler. Spider-Punk #1. It's out April 6th. It's amazing. He teams up with this brilliant artist called Justin Mason, this unbelievable colorist, Jim Charalampidis, who is just adds so much vibrancy. Unbelievable creative team, also including Travis Lanham, who is the letterer, who I have to shout out because the letters in that book are like so unreal. Check out the previews. It's Hobart Brown, it's Spider-Punk, and that is like a love letter to comics and punk music. And if you like the Misfits and all that kind of old fun punk and Spider-Man, you will be in heaven. So shout out Cody, because that is that's going to be a big one.